Now I've had time to calm down and say, good morning, Michael Avenatti.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm slightly less creepy about you than I was initially, but thank you for all the great work you're doing on, at the border on behalf of Stormy Daniels, getting under Trump's skin, just all of it. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. It's been a sincere pleasure.
It seems like you're having fun.
Yeah, we're having fun, and I think more important than that, we're doing good work, and I think that's critically important, especially as it relates to these mothers and children at the border.
Yeah, it is really an ongoing disgrace, Michael, and I think that's what is getting lost in all the, the constant just tweeting and bombshells and chaos out of this White House is that they have not solved the crisis, right? They missed the legal deadline to reunite these families, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem, Stephanie, is that we have a dumpster fire of a presidency known as the Trump presidency, and with each passing day, it's just one disaster after another, one cruel and unusual policy after another. And what's gone on with these mothers and their children at the border, it's an absolute disgrace. I can't believe that this has happened on U.S. soil. It has no place in the world, let alone on U.S. soil. And despite the outrage and despite how long it's been now, the problem continues. I mean, we have 500 children that still are separated from their parents. And there doesn't seem to be a true will to fix the problem.
Yeah. I mean, we were just saying this today that, Microsoft has just uncovered, of course, new Russian hacking, this aimed now at Republican think tanks, but that have split from Trump. I mean, clearly in an effort to interfere in the midterms and continue to protect Trump. And I think we were saying it's almost like individuals like you at the border, companies, it's almost like all of us are having to fill in the blanks where there should be a functioning government, right?
Well, I think that's an excellent point. I mean, there's so many of these functions we look to our president for leadership and the administration for leadership, and they've been, eerily silent. While I'm working to reunite children with their mothers, the president's too busy tweeting about Omarosa and calling women dogs, and demeaning women. I mean, these are the priorities of the president of the United States, and I mean, it's wrong, it's a disgrace, and it's got to be fixed.
Michael, I have so much I want to talk to you about. I've been storing up for months, but so many legal issues. First of all, your client, Stormy Daniels, spoke out yesterday. You probably saw it. And she just said, after everything she's gone through, and I'm sure best, the hate mail, the threats, all that, she said, it hopes it becomes known that I'm not a liar. Well, I think that absolutely is going to become definitively known, don't you?
Well, I think we're almost there. I believe that 80% of Americans, if not more, believe her when she said what she said on 60 Minutes, that she's very credible, she's honest, she's trustworthy, and I think anyone that meets her or interacts with her or really takes a moment to hear what she has to say comes away with that belief. I mean, let's be clear. I would not have ever agreed to represent her, certainly not on a stage this large, if I had any doubts as to her credibility. I mean, she's truly an amazing woman.
Michael, you've obviously, you've just been tweeting a lot about Michael Cohen. I mean, again, obviously the story we heard yesterday, he resisted paying Stormy until right after the Access Hollywood tape was released. And as you've tweeted this morning, you said Michael Cohen should have done the right thing, disclosed what he knew publicly, and cut a deal long ago, as I suggested. Now he's about to be in no man's land. Why? Because he was foolishly hoping disloyal Donnie would save him. That is the guessing game, right? Is what is going on with Michael Cohen?
Well, Michael Cohen completely misplayed this. I mean, he held out hope for far too long that Donald Trump was going to bring him back into the tent and show Michael Cohen loyalty. And let's be clear. I mean, if you talk to anybody that knows anything about Donald Trump, they'll tell you that he is loyal to no one. He shows no loyalty to no one, but he demands absolute loyalty. I would assert that he actually has shown loyalty to one person, and that's Vladdy Putin.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Michael, obviously some legal experts speculating that, he's gone from a volatile presence to radio silence. One of them said, of course, he's cooperating because he has no cards left to play. It looks like there's overwhelming evidence on him suggesting bank fraud and tax fraud. I mean, what is your guess on that? That he is cooperating since we haven't heard, as you're saying, that perhaps he's waited too long?
Well, I know that for a fact that they've been in negotiations attempting to cut a deal, but the problem is that they waited so long that they've left themselves very few options. And, look, if Bob Mueller ultimately concludes, and I think he will conclude this, that you cannot indict a sitting president, and let me be clear, I have an enormous amount of respect for Bob Mueller, but we are two very different attorneys, and he's far more conservative than I am. I would indict the president, and then I would make the Supreme Court toss it out. But, that's me.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately he'll conclude that you cannot indict a president, and he'll leave it up to Congress to impeach Donald Trump or to the American electorate to vote him out of office in 2020. And the problem for Michael Cohen with that is that if Michael Cohen's best information is against the president, but that's of little interest to prosecutors, then Michael Cohen doesn't have a lot of large chips to play, if you will.
I thought that what people kept saying is it's a state case, right? That the president couldn't pardon Michael Cohen. Am I wrong on that, Michael?
Well, right now it appears, that the matter that's being investigated most prominently or the issues are federal issues out of SDNY. Now, if the state of New York decides to charge him criminally at the state level, you're correct. Donald Trump could not pardon Michael Cohen. But I think the likelihood of Donald Trump pardoning Michael Cohen, even for federal charges, is very, very close to zero at this point. I think Donald Trump is going to leave him on an island and leave him to fend for himself. And this is another reason why, strategically, Michael Cohen misplayed this terribly.
Michael, God, it's so much I know we want to get to what you're doing in curious places like Iowa. But I want to I want to ask you, first of all, about Don McGahn, because obviously I've heard other experts say, that Trump, even Chris Christie said this was a horrible move. They really dropped the ball on McGahn, that you can't get executive privilege back. But of course, Trump and Giuliani are trying to spin it like, oh, this is no big deal that he talked to Mueller for 30 hours. Well, what is your take on that?
Well, I think what has gone on is legal malpractice, frankly. Whatever happened to, or what has happened to Rudy Giuliani? I used to respect Rudy Giuliani. He was a very accomplished federal prosecutor. I think he was a good mayor for New York. I thought he did a nice job in the aftermath of 9/11. But, this guy is a caricature of himself. He's a walking disaster. I want to hire this guy to handle a speeding ticket for me or a jaywalking ticket, let alone in the role that he's in right now. The problem with this legal strategy, if you want to call it that, is that it is governed by the same approach that Donald Trump uses in every other aspect of the presidency, which is basically there is no strategy, there is no thoughtful approach, there is no thinking ahead, there is no testing. But to allow the White House counsel to go in for 30 hours, and my understanding is there was no debrief after that. This is unheard of. If you talk to any attorney that knows what they're doing, they would tell you that this is crazy.
Yeah. Last one, Manafort trial. What is your take on that? And shouldn't the jury have been sequestered? This just all seems so improper to me.
Well, I don't know if the jury should have been sequestered, but what I do know is the President of the United States should not be chiming in on pending criminal cases with a jury out or a jury that has been impaneled, let alone criminal cases involving individuals that he's close with. That's outrageous to me.
Yeah.
To have the sitting president of the United States making comments like that. My take on the Manafort trial is clearly there's division in the panel. I've had a lot of juries out in my career. Clearly there's division in the panel. There's at least one, if not more than one, jurors that have some significant doubts as to some of these charges. This is not looking like it's going to be as easy for the prosecution as many people believe.
Yeah, that is terrifying. Now, I understand Iowa is nice this time of year. You tweeted, the Democratic Party has great talent, but not enough fighters. The future of our republic and the values that made this nation great are at stake. The people that depend on us to protect them and their way of life cannot afford gentleness. We must remember this every day. Michael, I must say this every single day for years on this show, that I love Michelle Obama, but when they go low, we go high. It's just we're in a different time, aren't we? We're in a critical period, and I've said we don't need to lie and cheat and steal like they do, but we need to fight differently. And I know that's what I love about you. I know that's what a lot of people love about you. But how do you answer? I will say that I got, and this not has to do not with you, but when we rushed after Trump got elected to go, oh, we got to get Oprah, we got to get, we got to get a celebrity. Well, how do you answer that? Because I know that you're going to hear that, right?
Well, yeah, and I have heard that. I mean, let me say a few things. I've been saying for a long time that the Democratic Party, even long before Trump, needs to have more fighters. We have a lot of talent. We don't have a lot of fighters. And the need for a fighter at this point in our history is, I think, even more prominent because we have so much at stake, and this situation is so dangerous right now. I think we're on a powder keg. I don't think that we can afford another 6 years. I know we can't afford another 6 years of Donald Trump. If he's reelected, the Supreme Court is going to go to 7-2.
Yeah.
I know what that means. That's going to usher in 30 to 40 years of a completely different way of life here in the United States of America, for us, for our kids, and others. There's an enormous amount at stake. And look, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, guess what? Donald Trump beat 16, 17 very experienced, highly qualified, policy-deep politicians in 2016. He beat someone that I would state is the most qualified individual to ever run for the office of the presidency, whether you agree with their positions or not,
right?
Namely Hillary Clinton.
So, Michael, but here's where I just want to step in because you are such a fierce advocate for women, and we so appreciate that. There are 66 million of us that voted for Hillary Clinton, and I think Russia was a huge factor that I just feel like we have to acknowledge. That I feel like you're right. The most competent person to ever run got rat-effed out of the presidency that she earned by 3 million votes by Russia, and I still think we don't know the tip of the iceberg on this until Mueller is done. So that's all I would say is that
and I agree. Yeah, and Stephanie, I want to be really clear. I agree with that. I agree with the assessment about the 71,000 votes in a handful of areas in the country made the difference. I agree with all of that, and I think that those responsible for hacking our electoral system should face the absolute stiffest penalties available, and we should not rest until those folks are brought to justice. Period.
Yep.
But here is my concern. When I hear people within the Democratic Party and elsewhere concentrate on the issues of, well, she lost the election due to the Russian hacking, which, by the way, is true. She lost the election due to the 71,000 votes. She lost the election for this reason or that reason. The problem with that is, in my view, it's a losing mentality. And what I mean by that is it sets us up to lower our standards for what we're going to have to do in 2020. And this is a common occurrence when people are running against Donald Trump. You cannot underestimate this guy. He is not very bright in so many areas, but one thing he is he's a fighter, and he's a very, very good campaigner. And he knows how to rally people. And so what I maintain is this. I don't know who the nominee should be in 2020 for the Democrats, but what I do know is this. It is going to require somebody that knows how to operate within this media environment, not the environment in 2012 or 8
I hear you.
2000. It's going to take a big personality. It's going to take somebody with some gravitas. It's going to take somebody with some charisma, and obviously it's going to take somebody that is smart.
Yeah.
And that can go toe-to-toe with this guy. I mean, that's what it's going to take.
Michael, when I first heard you were thinking about this, I mean, I think part of it is, like I've said every day, I'm laser focused on getting the traitorous lunatic out of the Oval Office and on the midterms. So I think I'm not even thinking 2020. But what I love about you is you tweeted today, you said, I'm setting a personal goal of helping raise money for Democrats in at least 20 states before Election Day in November. 4 down, 16 to go. The stakes are too high. You were with our friend at the VMAs last night. You said relating to raising awareness for getting out the vote. And so I love that you are out there. You're a proud Democrat. You're focused on the midterms. You're helping raise money for Democrats. And I will be your loudest cheerleader and proponent if you are our nominee. Believe me. I read your whole platform, and you are dead on every issue. And so,
well, I thank you for that. And I am making a concentrated effort to travel around the country. I have a I have a platform now. People want to come out and see me speak and hear me speak, and I'm going to use that to try to generate significant crowd sizes and significant dollars for Democrats around the country, because I agree with you, the midterms are critically important.
Yeah, for our democracy. I always want to hear you speak. I know people say you're on every channel. I'm like, not enough for me.
Well,
We need at least a Michael Avenatti channel if we not the presidency.
God forbid.
Michael, thanks so much for taking time, and we hope we get to hear from you again.
All right, thanks for having me on. All the best.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, bye-bye. Come on, I kept it together,
You
right?
did. You were good. You're very good.
Oh my God, you guys, I'm dying. Okay.
It's only awkward at the beginning.
We got past our initial awkwardness.
Yeah.
He does
Right,
have,
just
That's kind of your life, though. Awkward
Kind
at the
of is.
beginning.
he does have a
and-
very good platform. But you know what? It reads. It's a Democratic platform. That's what I have to say. I love that he's out there. He's a proud Democrat. He's
Yes.
raising money for
Thank you.
Democrats.
Yes.
He's all in
Yep.
on Vote Blue, no matter who. And so good for him. I'm down with anybody that's down with that. Plus, he's so dreamy.
He is.
Right? Can we talk about his lips for a minute?
Oh my God.
Right?
I know. Oh my God. I can't even
Oh
believe
my God,
it.
and when he stands there protecting Stormy Daniels from the press,
So
right?
amazing and dreamy.
Oh my God, he's a bodyguard.